How'd you become a ski instructor here?
That's a great question. So I was living in New York City, kind of the winter before I moved out, and I always knew I wanted to hop into the outdoor industry to some extent, and I kind of finished up what I was doing in New York and was just spinning my wheels and had a good friend who was an instructor out here, and I came and skied Vail for 5 days, which obviously is not enough time to actually ski Vail. And I found myself out here as a instructor the following winter.
I remember your first season, you did everything like the game of Nar and like making breakfast for first chair. And I was like, man, this guy's energy is amazing. I'm a little tired for this. But tell us a little bit like about your experience of being an instructor here so far.
I would say it's been absolutely fantastic. It's been really cool kind of connecting with the diverse base that we have of instructors. I think somebody was telling me that there's 1,200 of us, and it's such a unique and diverse kind of crowd. I think the best part is, learning from everybody else's experiences, whether it be just skiing or, everybody's gone in such different directions. It's awesome to see what different backgrounds people have and are bringing to our ski and snowboard school.
Perfect. Hey, Creed, I'm going to come to you next. Creed.
Hi, Francis.
How's it going, bud?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from, and how did you find your way to Vail? And what'd you start off with? Because you didn't start off with a ski school at first, right?
I've always worked for ski school, but not as an instructor. So I was from Wisconsin. I skied a little bit up in Montana, went to the snowboard side, and then came to the Golden Peak Children's Ski School to work in their rental department. Did that for 2 years, did another support staff role for 1 year, and then made the jump to teaching. So this is winter 3 teaching for me.
So as you went from support staff and inside staff and moved out into on snow, what was your motivation? Maybe like what did you notice? Like why did you want to become a ski instructor?
Obviously, the biggest thing is being outside, being on the mountain. Like working in the rental shop is fun, but you're always looking out the windows, wishing that you were out there. So
right,
that was the biggest jump. And part of it too was like making sure that I could spend a full day with kids and enjoy that. Because I was a little skeptical at first. I was like, I don't know if I want to spend the whole day with these kids. That might be too much. But then as that inside sports staff is like, this is awesome. So the more time you can do that, the better.
Perfect. All right, Creed, we'll come back to you. We're gonna Jordan and Landon. We'll go to you guys both at the same time. You guys want to tell you where you're from and why did you decide to become a ski and snowboard instructor?
Yeah, I'll start. So I grew up in the Vail Valley, born and raised in Vail, and I'm actually a 3rd generation Golden Peak instructor. My grandmother started teaching here. Her picture's still in our locker room. And then my parents both taught at a Golden Peak and met in the Children's Center. So I started teaching when I was 16 years old, teaching the little minis, level 1s for a couple years, and I taught part-time all through high school, all through college, and now this is my 8th season, but 2nd full-time season.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know you were 3rd generation. That's amazing. Yeah. What about you, Landon?
I'm probably one of the only guys from Tennessee in our ski instructor base, it seems. I kind of grew up skiing. I started skiing in North Carolina, going with my dad on like Friday afternoons and Friday nights and having snow blown in our face from the blowers skiing. And then we started coming out here when I was about 10. And from then on, I would look forward to the next trip each year. And after college, I was like, I'm going to try this out for a season. Now I'm on season 8 and loving every minute of it, sharing my passion with all the kids and adults too. It's a great world.
Perfect. All right, we're gonna. Hey, Strusenberg, you're up next. You ready?
Yes.
Andrew, where are you from? Tell us a little bit about yourself and
Yeah.
why you became a ski instructor here.
Sure. So I grew up in Greeley, Colorado, which is pretty rural, kind of 2 hours away from Vail. My they're big skiers, so we'd come up to like Keystone, Breckenridge, and then our special trip would we would go to Vail. So I kind of went through college, high school, college, skied somewhat, and then when I graduated graduated college, I decided to think about doing it maybe for a year, and I applied to Breckenridge, and I was thinking I was going to go to Breckenridge, and then got the job at Vail, and I was like, this is great. This is kind of like the special place to be. So started over at Lion's Head and was in 3 to 6 program for 2 years, and made the jump last year to 17, and now I'm over at Golden Peak in 17 and skiing a lot and it's been great so far. So yeah.
Perfect. I just noticed this on the screen. So Kenny, who's this with you?
Ash.
He's gonna steal the show.
Yeah.
Kenny, where are you from? You have an interesting story of how you came here, right?
Yeah. I'm from New Mexico. I started ski instructing as a way to get a free lift ticket when I was 14 or 15. I never really planned to come to Vail. I had it made at my last mountain. It was kind of like king of the kids world. I worked underneath my supervisor from when she first started and just kind of stayed with her the entire time. So I just kind of climbed the ranks behind her. And she loved me all the way until I turned down a supervisor position. She wasn't happy about that. But no, I was still her utility man. And like I said, I had it made over there. Did anything that she asked, I did for her. And yeah. And then Colby, while we were training for our Cert 2, I really didn't know Colby until about 7 days before my Cert 2 exam. I skied with him 3 days, and I was like, gosh, this guy's a dickhead. I really thought he was I don't know. We didn't get along, really.
That's all right. It's true. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, he was very upfront, and I probably really needed that because I had again, being king of the kids world, like everybody always thought that I was doing so good, and then some guy came and said, nope, this ain't it. And he failed me on my Cert 2, and I was in college at this time. I'd been working there about 8 years. And I came back the next year. I passed my Cert 2 with some actual training instead of going into it like the first time with 3 days of training. I actually passed the last day of the ski day. And he was trying to recruit me up here. He was trying to get me to come to Vail. And I told him no a few times. He's like, you need to train. He goes, we need to get you to Vail. And I told him nope. And I don't know. I kind of I graduated, got out of a 5-year relationship, and I shot him a text message. I was all, hey, I know it's the end of the season, but Vail next year, can we make that happen? And he put me in touch with BJ, and now I'm here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not going to share my story about how I got here, but whatever. It's somewhat similar. All right, Amy Sherman. You're another Vail local. Can you share a little bit about yourself and why you became a ski instructor here?
Yeah, similar-ish to Jordan. My mom was GP adult supervisor for forever and started Devo program with Sherry and all that stuff. And so it's just kind of the family biz. My dad was on patrol for a couple of years back in the day. And yeah, just an easy thing to do for college breaks, make some money. My sister does it as well and loving it.
That's awesome. All right, I'm going to bring everybody back in. Kenny, what's your dog's name again?
Ash.
Okay. All right, so we're going to hit some hard-hitting questions here. So most of the reason why I'm inviting you guys to this talk is mostly because you're going through your Cert 3 process now, right? Some of you guys have checked off pieces, and you're going through the training. I know some of you are finishing up like CS2 or other aspects of it. So just wanted to get your point of view of what you're experiencing, maybe some of the things you wish you knew before you went through the process. Just kind of open it up to a little bit of what it's like to be going through Cert 3. It's hard, right? Some of you have ebbs and flows, and you guys are on the younger side of it too. So starting off your careers, some of you have more seasons than others, but what does that mean to you as you're going through this exam process? And so first off, what is training like? How are you handling training? What's the most fun part? What's the most difficult part? What's going on with you?
I'll start. I think training's been going pretty well. We have a lot of great trainers at Vail, which I feel like is one of our biggest benefits as instructors at Vail. We can go and have some of the top trainers in the industry that work as our peers and get to train us. So that's been really cool. Then going to, I think some of the more difficult part though is because we have so many great trainers, we have so many people who want to train, which is great. But I think sometimes it's hard in training when there's just such a wide group of people trying to achieve different things at different times. But overall, it's been going really well.
Cool. Katie, how's it going for you? Because you kind of you brought up Colby, and we'll go back to you, Andrew. But Colby kind of he kind of forces your hand sometimes.
So yeah, no. Like at first, I didn't like him at all. I'm not even gonna lie. In New Mexico, everybody, so some of the guys before, the only people who really came down from Colorado that were fun and kind of cool were David Oliver and Kevin Eddy.
I came down. What the? Wow. All right, I'll remember this.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know you guys. David Oliver's there every season, and he's training us, not examining us. So we had experience with them, and they're from there. So I guess our trust was a little bit more willing to go, to open up to them, whereas we didn't know you guys. And I saw besides Amy and Calvin, I don't know if you guys know Calvin, but you guys, we were the only consistent ones there. And you guys switched in left and right like a pair of underwear. We never really got to build a relationship with you guys until Colby started frequently showing up. And Colby just, the way that I describe it is he used to just ski with the old guys. So he used to ski with all our guys who were there for 50 years. As I came to Vail, he's kind of, after I failed my Cert 2, I was like, all right, this guy comes down, I got to ski with him. What does this guy want me to do? So, because he failed me on my ski day. That was the only day that I failed on my Cert 2. But anyways, I was like, what does this guy want me to do? How do I train? How do I ski better like him? And so every time he came, I always got a chance to ski with him. And then he traveled to the smaller resorts. And there was a few of us that would follow him to smaller resorts to ski extra days with him. So we'd ski with him 6 days a year. And to us, that was 6 days of training a season was mind-blowing. Doesn't happen. And so now that I've come up here, I don't even get to ski with him up here. I train more with him on Zoom and outside of I've kind of gone to the gym a few times with him. Bad ideas. Don't do it. He'll work your ass off. But I actually now we've become really great friends. And I don't know how to explain that. And I don't even ski with him. I've skied with him once in the last 3 years. I've skied with everybody else. But he pushes me to try different things. And if I have questions, I'll go and ask him. And he normally sends me in the right direction to when I come back to actual training with you guys, I kind of know which way I got to lean towards and what I'm working on.
Andrew, you were going to share something.
Yeah, kind of talking, piggybacking off of Jordan, what she was saying is that just the different perspectives in the trainers and kind of they're in different processes as well, different areas of the process, Joe Webster, get to ski with him every once in a while, or Chris Caruso and Chris is still kind of getting his E3 situation figured out, and Joe has been kind of emeritus for a long time. So you get different perspectives when you go to on snow training, and you never really know what you're going to expect or do that day. And you get there and you show up, and you get to ski with like some of the top skiers in the industry, and work on, almost get incentivized to take a lesson from like these top skiers. So it's pretty cool. And I think that the clinics themselves are one of the biggest perks, I have to say, with being a ski instructor. And I didn't take advantage of it enough my first year, and I feel like I took a ton of clinics last year. And at the end of the year, I was still like, oh, I could have gone out even more and like skied more and trained more. And I love them. They're fantastic. So, yeah.
Does it get addicting? Does it get addicting, like clinic and being a part of it? Is it the fun having peers with you and then developing as a group?
Yeah, I'd say. And then another aspect is that you have like a group of friends that are out skiing. So you show up and you're like, oh, I guess I could text some friends to go free ski, or I could just go to a clinic and have people around that are going to be working on the same thing. You can talk about skiing with them. Even if you're there not looking for like a specific focus or anything, you still have people to hang out with and get lunch with and talk about different things with. Even if it's not skiing, you can kind of like broaden your community a little bit. So yeah, I kind of like that piece too.
Dave, you've been nodding your head a bunch. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would kind of piggyback off of what Andrew was saying there. I would say for me, I've been historically bad at going to clinics and going to trainings, and I've preferred to kind of go free ski. The argument in the past was more to like learn the mountain and that kind of stuff was my excuse at the very least. And I think that kind of what he was saying about everybody having a similar mindset is really like a phenomenal aspect to like training and going to the clinics. It's really awesome, kind of piggyback off of what people are working on and what people are focused on. And I think that's really cool to see and help be a part of.
Amy, like you're part of the legacy, right? And you understand a lot what the school is about. What motivates you for you to go through this process and put yourself out there?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I was part-time for a long time and don't even remember doing my Cert 1. My mom just told me, my sister was like, you guys should probably get this. So we did it. I didn't know what it was. No idea what I was doing. I thought it was just like a clinic. Didn't know anything about it. So then I didn't do anything. And then when I was full-time, actually Melissa was super involved and was like pushing me to go do your CS1, get your Cert 2, you need to do this stuff. And so she was super helpful with it. And that was the COVID year. So I was like, oh, well, didn't do that. But actually training and stuff was really fun. This year's been a lot more work. So I really haven't trained anything. CS2 was very intimidating during that Cert thing. So I kind of put that on the back burner. But I do think about it a lot, that I should really just keep going, because I feel like once you're in the groove of it, it all obviously builds on top of each other, so you can't lose any of it. Like I was like, CS1, yeah, one and done, but no, you need to now relearn it all again. So it's good, but I mean, it's cool to know. And then like even doing Logan and stuff, just to see how awesome these skiers are ripping around, and then you can go anywhere on all the connections they have, like talking to Mike Rogan about Portillo and all that stuff. So I think it's motivating to go and know that you can go anywhere in the world and do this type of stuff, and it's so much fun, and the people that do it love what they're doing. So definitely that is motivating.
Hey Creed, what's been the most difficult part of this so far?
Yeah, difficult time management. You if you work full time and then you train on your days off, you don't have any free time. So that was for me. That was kind of tough last year, just burning out. Is great, but making sure you build in rest days was challenging, because kind of like you asked before, like, is it addicting? And for me, it is, because it's this thing that I can shape and control and mold. But you got to build in rest time, otherwise you burn out.
Landon, so you have a unique situation, right? Jordan's there with you, and you guys are pushing each other as you go. What's been the most beneficial having a training partner, somewhat, as you're going through this?
Well, for me, I've kind of taken my time with the process. I kind of got my Cert 2 about, I think, my third or fourth. And then I've just kind of taken the time to just build my skills as like an instructor, like actually going out and practicing stuff in the real world situations. And I think that's what's helped me a lot. And having Jordan here, who's like super gung-ho about everything and always having a plan, a schedule, it's really like kind of pushed me to be a little bit more like, I should get this sooner now. Like, it's time for me to really buckle down and go for it, I guess. So it's really nice to have someone to kind of motivate you, and me motivate her back in different ways, I guess.
Do you guys have training partners, like the rest of the crew? Do you have someone that you can bounce off ideas, or when you have questions, or maybe if you have some anxiety? is there someone that you can work with, and how's that process and partnership?
I think that I've gone out and skied with Creed during some clinics pretty often. I feel like we've kind of gone on the same path for a while, and when we trained for our Cert 2, we kind of had that kind of relationship going on where we were working on very similar things. So yeah, it's been good. Yeah. It's always nice to have somebody that you can rely on, and you can you're close enough with them to ask for some critical feedback and know that they're going to give you the straight answer, as opposed to somebody that's going to maybe sugarcoat it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I had a video of my skiing the other day, and it's like clearly something that was not the desired outcome, but I was not sure what was the cause for that effect. And Andrew was right there. He was very encouraging, like, oh, that's pretty good skiing. I was like, no, give me the truth. Then he's like, all right, here it is. So I really appreciate that. Having somebody who's going through that process and can give you that honest feedback is great.
And then I told him that he should probably talk to a trainer about it.
Though, it's good to have someone you can bounce ideas off. I'm going to share a little bit of my story. Like, my buddy Phil and I went through Cert 3 together, and we had all sorts of questions. And so we would ask each other some technical understandings, and then have someone verify with us. But it was nice to have that person that we can, even if we were wrong, at least we had something that we can bounce ideas and have that debate that was in a safe environment. What's the most difficult? Oh, sorry. What's motivating to continue on? Here's the thing, right? The season's hard. We're busy. And to Creed's point, like trying to find some time to have some rest days. What keeps you motivated to continue on to make sure that you're going to get success out of this?
For me, I kind of see it as a checklist, and I'm a very goal-oriented person and I'm pretty competitive too. I was a college athlete, and getting into training kind of feels like I'm back in volleyball practice or something. I have something to work towards. So I got my level 1 and 2 and CS1. I'm signed up for my CS2, and hopefully I want to achieve my 3 in April. But so I can have a plan, and it motivates me to want to achieve that eventually.
I think obviously the pay bump helped. That's for sure. But also all jokes aside though, working together with this peer base, kind of just like we were talking about, is super motivational, and you have people who are kind of pushing you along at the same time, which works really effectively, I would say. And since we're all skiing at this level too, it's really fun to work more towards that peer-to-peer interaction. which I think is a really easy way to stay motivated because everybody's so stoked to go out and ski.
I would say also I just got done skiing with a family that I skied with 2 years ago, and they haven't been here because of COVID. But thinking about the last time I skied with them, I didn't really know a whole lot, and I wasn't very comfortable. It wasn't very. I didn't have that. I don't know, just that feeling of like I got this. And after going through all that process of getting my Cert 2, the training process, and being able to see them today and ski with them, I know that I can go out there and give them a very good lesson at any point, and can deal with a lot more than I once did.
Go ahead, Amy.
Yeah, I was exactly what Andrew was saying. 'Cause when I started, I audited 2 lessons and was thrown in. So I never got any proper training whatsoever. So I was just like pulling stuff out of my head from my Devo days. And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I felt like that for quite a few years. And then going through the cert process is so helpful because now I'm like, oh, I can actually say that I know what I'm talking about, not pulling something from what Mike Evans taught me when I was 8 years old. Luckily, it stuck with me, so that's encouraging. Like stuff I was like so out of my element, and now going through the process, it's nice to be able to be like, I actually do know what I'm talking about a little bit. So,
do you have like a mentor or someone who's been helping you kind of guide you in the direction that you need to go? Like I know Kenny's been talking about do you go by Ken or Kenny? I'm sorry, I'm going to make sure I got this right.
Kenny.
Okay. So, you know, you have Colby, who for bad or worse is getting you and taking him, or you under his wing.
Yeah.
But who else have you guys kind of looked up as mentors or maybe motivators through this process?
When I first started, I did my global training with Joe Webster. And so I was with him for several days there. And then I've had the opportunity to ski with him every year since then, at least a couple times, it seems like. So I don't know if I would say a mentor per se in the same way that Colby is there to check up on Kenny, but it's definitely helpful to have that person who's like seen where I started from and has seen me progress and can like kind of guide me in the right direction. They know where I'm at. So Joe's been huge for me in that.
I would say you, Francis. You definitely talked me into like getting into the Cert 3 process.
I kind of forced you into it.
Yeah, you definitely did. So like I really respect that you had kind of talked me into it and pushed me. And then I would say also Chris Caruso has been an awesome resource. He seems so willing to kind of donate his time and energy just like you are, that it's awesome being able to pick, you know, your brains, especially with the caliber that you're kind of at.
Do you guys find that there's pressure going through this, being that you're on the younger side? You know, you've seen some folks who are, because I'll be honest, I got my Cert 3 when I was 27. And it was in my head, I was like, I need to do this when I'm more athletic, but then try to figure out the technical piece. Like I don't know where you guys are at personally with your process. Like I was able to ski, but I didn't know what to say, and I couldn't formulate any like sentences based on it. Like as you're going through your own process, what makes sense for you, or is there any pressures for being on the younger side for it?
I have a lot of the older gentlemen, well, being the youngest adult instructor at Gold Peak Adults. Everybody else is 55 plus. Those guys are like, when Colby's there, like he starts it and now he has all these guys like trying to guide me in the correct direction. All the older guys who like we rarely see because they're always on privates. I don't see that much elsewhere, but from the pod, I see it a lot.
That's good. It's good to have like a group rallying behind you.
Yeah.
I personally like being on the younger side of it because I'm 23, but I think it's kind of nice, and we have, I feel like, a pretty good group of friends and coworkers who are all kind of in the same spot, and we can all, and I think a lot of us, because free skiing is really important to me too. I try to free ski at least once a week and train once a week because I think overtraining is not, I mean, it hurts you almost as much as undertraining. So, but I like having that younger side that we want to go ski, and we also can train too, but it's fun being younger.
I would say there's not a whole lot of pressure as far as like the general Cert 3 training. But I would say the people in this group are pretty, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but pretty good at generating that pressure. Like I know talking with Kenny and Andrew, I was like, Kenny, get signed up for this exam. There's like, and then like constantly putting pressure onto myself and like my peer group. Because I know for me, like that's huge and that motivates me. Maybe not everyone's the same way. But I think a big part of that, and I think part of the talent in this group is knowing how to motivate yourself, knowing how to pressure yourself to make the right decisions or the decisions that will lead you in that right direction.
I think I get a lot of pressure from myself, honestly. Like, I just think it's very important to, if we're going to be in this industry and be high up in this industry, to know what we're doing. And having that Cert 3 badge is like very key in doing that and feeling like you're giving a good product whenever you're asked to do so. So like for me, I just signed up for April. I have the MA in Teach that I haven't tried yet. And I was kind of like you, Francis. I was like, okay, I'll get the ski out of the way because I feel like I'm athletically there, but I need to, get the book work done. And now that I have that I'm signed up, I feel the pressure now. And like, it's, it weighs on you. You're like, okay, now it's time to buckle up and go. And yeah, it's kind of where I'm at on that.
That's awesome.
I think there's also a different pressure in this season, particularly because there's so much work and so little workforce. I'm finding it pressure to be like, oh, well, I need to be working. I can't take a day off because I'm already booked, but I need to do a clinic, but I can't do a clinic. And now it's like this. So I'm finding pressure in that sense where I've had zero time to train because it's been working every single day and you don't get cut because you get work and then you can't train. So it's like a different pressure but needing to succeed and keep going. You don't want to lose what you've already built, but you also have a job that you need to work and make money. So it's a very different vibe this season is what I feel. I don't know if anybody else does, but yeah.
There's a lot of nodding heads. It's an interesting season, right? We have way more business than we've had in the past. And, we need more folks to work more days as much as we can. People keep showing up. What's been the best part of the journey so far? Like it is a journey, right? You're constantly adding pieces to your understanding or maybe movement patterns. What's been the best? Is there a best?
Well, I would Andrew mentioned this earlier, but I think going through the process, I've been skiing in Vail since I was 3 years old, kind of like Amy, and we could ski, but I haven't trained skiing since I was probably 10 or something like that. And so skiing back in the process, my skiing's improved. But on top of that, I've really taken ownership over the teaching aspect of all this because I could remember kind of we have an idea, but to really be able to look at a skier and be like, I know why you're making that turn in that direction and why you feel like your ski's getting in the way. Like I can really understand what they're saying, how to produce a lesson out of that.
I came from a pretty recreational background, a recreational skier background. And was an athlete growing up. My dad's a very good skier, but he only could teach me so much, and I only really learned so much. And I got to the point where I was pretty like plateauing with what I was doing, and I didn't realize that until I became an instructor. And like going through this process, I learned why I'm doing something or how to improve past that. And I think that becoming an instructor and doing the training and going to clinics and stuff has like given me even more love for the sport, and like, wow, I actually continue growing in the sport and getting better at it and understanding more about it. And I think like my second year, I had an aha moment where I was actually able to carve. I was like, I've never really thought about carving before, and or maybe I was like able to like really lay some trenches, and I was like, wow, this is what the ski is supposed to do, and this is fantastic. This is so fun. And before that, I was like, on the park skis, and I was like the cool guy, cool skier with the full tilt boots and that everything. And actually, after my Cert 1, Val Gross was like, yeah, you need to get new boots, and that was my feedback. And then, but yeah, those types of things are amazing. So.
I agree with Andrew there on that. Like I had one ski lesson at like Beach Mountain in North Carolina when I was like, I don't know, like 8. And that was like to learn how to ski parallel. And like, I don't even remember what level I would have been then or anything. I just remember the guy teaching me how to ski parallel. And then I just like kind of followed my dad the rest of my like skiing life up until I was here, like skiing every day. And like when I came here, all the trainers are like, you ski like you're from the 80s. I'm like, I was born in 1990. Like, how is that? And like, it's from following my dad everywhere. And I think that like having training and all that just like allowed me or like to kind of channel my athleticism and like a direct and have a good focus to where like I've turned into like a much better skier now. And I think that feeling is like probably one of my favorite parts of the whole process is just kind of gaining that knowledge here and there and applying it to my own skiing and like allowing me to then share that knowledge with other people is my favorite part.
I personally enjoy. I know obviously there's nerves involved for everybody and that kind of good stuff, but with the level of training that we're able to receive, showing up at the tests and being like, or the exams and being like, yeah, I'm from Vail, let's go, and kind of like showing off a little bit. There is something fun about that at the same time. For better or worse, I did compete a little bit. Skiing growing up, and so it's fun getting a little bit of that competitive side back into things.
So you guys have your Cert 2, right? And what we're gonna see this season, because we didn't have a lot of folks from last season come back, just the nature of what happened. But we have a lot of successes so far. People getting their Cert 1. What would you like them to know about the process of jumping from 1 and CS1 to Cert 2 and what you learned along the way for them to be as successful as possible moving forward?
I think the biggest takeaway for me has been like staying focused on the exam process is all about showing off what you know and what you do every day. And approaching the exam with that kind of like kind of mentality has been really helpful for the nerve side and like, being worried about who your examiner is, that kind of thing. Like at the end of the day, it's what you do every day, and that's what you're showing off.
Go ahead, Kenny.
For me, it was the Cert 2 was about getting better classes, but for them not to worry about that, to just try and teach everything they can to get a feel for it, so they are prepared for the Cert 2, so they know what works and what doesn't work. And maybe watching that crazy 50-year-old man who has some weird tricks in his book, but he knows what he's doing. so like training for my Cert 2, I would watch, we'd call him the Colonel. And I mean, these guys are all 60 plus, and they had the craziest tricks to make the simplest tasks work and easy. And just standing on the bunny hill when I was doing my wedge turns, watching those old guys, what they would do with their people that made them successful. Yeah. I don't know. That's what I think when they're training for a Cert 2. Yeah.
I would say going in the Cert 2 process, our training system on snow and both the online sessions are designed to help you pass. So if you take it seriously, and it doesn't mean committing your whole season to training, you can be successful. It doesn't have to be like, you know, it is stressful, but if you take that time seriously and train even once a week for the season, I think by April, spring fling, you can be ready to take an exam.
Also, I like to tell people, like, when they're like kind of worried about taking the Cert 2 and getting in that process, I'm like, honestly, like a lot of people like kind of make it more complex than it really is. And like, if like we're all pretty smart people that are here, like if you kind of just take the time and you can kind of get the pattern and get this, like, it's more of a simple idea when you kind of sit down and think about it a little bit, you know, and go to some of the training. So there's no reason to be worried about it. Just go for it.
Amy, I keep seeing you unmute your computer. You go ahead.
Yeah, I would also say that for the future people and stuff, to not be shy and just embrace the people in your group and your trainers, because I know I was super shy and like would never speak or never do MA, nothing like that. And then Brendan Kerr was so helpful during my whole process with the teach. We bounced ideas off each other. He took the exams before me, helped me out with some of mine, listened to my teaches, then got Laura Anderson in, and I would voice record an MA video that she would send me, and she would tell me what was good, what was bad, all that stuff. So like really asking your peers and your trainers for help, because it was so easy. Like we didn't have to do it in person. They're there to help you, and it's amazing. And then even supervisors, like I was practicing a teach by myself, and John Lira skis by. He's like, do it for me. Here we go. Let's do it. So like everybody's there to help you, and other people that have already taken the exam. I mean, it's just a big family of people. So I think it's nicer to know that your peers can help you in a non-stressful way if you are a little bit shy for all of the more serious aspects of it.
Kind of what I think what Landon was saying is just to don't overthink it, and just continue remembering why you're in the process. And that is, for me, after going through the process, getting the Cert 2, it has made my days with my lessons so much easier, because I have all of these things that I can use that I've learned to teach more effectively. And I think having that in mind and going through the process and knowing that if I go through this process, then I'm going to be a better instructor, a better skier, understand a little bit more. I think that's the best advice I would give.
Great. You keep unmuting. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I would say if you're committed to getting Cert 2, like you're like, I'm gonna make this happen, and you're going to trainings, assuming that, my advice would be talk and go first. Like if you're on snow training, like watch that demo and then do it before you watch all of these other 7 people go. And same thing with MA, like, because if you're like, I'm just going to sit back and absorb some wisdom. Yeah, there's a ton of wisdom you can absorb. But if you're like, if you have a deadline, like I'm signed up for this exam, it can often be more confusing to try to sort out what all these other people are saying. Whereas if you can just say, here's my understanding, put it in front of the trainer and get feedback and just take that, it can avoid a lot of confusion, especially because our trainers are so great and they're going to try to make whatever you said right in some way. You're like, well, I think I saw this. And you're like, yeah, I kind of saw it. It's like, well, you're missing the big obvious thing. So yeah, just talk and go first. If you have that deadline, if you're committed to an exam.
What makes a successful training day for you? right? Like, I'll be honest, like generationally, like we have to teach different folks different things as we go down within different generations and how we approach it. So how do you find ways that you're being successful, and maybe what's happening in training that you kind of get lost in? Like what's making sense for you and what does not make sense for you?
I think days that the trainer kind of goes like kind of with a simple idea and kind of they expound upon it a little bit, make it more complex, but then bring it back to that simplicity at the end. And like, I think those days that come full circle are probably the best days for me personally. Cause like, sure, like you get in your head a little bit in the middle of the day and you're like, okay, where are we going with this? What's going on? That kind of gets your wheels turning. And then when you see them bring it back to like where they started, you're like, oh, okay. That's why all my gears are turning, because I was thinking that too. And that's where like I'll kind of think like, where are they going to go with this? Where are they going to go with this? And sometimes they'll go back to where I thought they were going to go with it. And it kind of solidifies my understanding. And I think those days are the days for me.
No one else has like what makes sense?
I'll go to. I kind of what Landon was saying. I definitely have had days, especially starting to train for Cert 3 a little more than my 2, where I have this big aha moment and everything kind of makes sense, or I really feel like I made a big improvement in my skiing. But I think sometimes that is due to the trainer and how I've had what I consider trainers that are amazing, I really get along with. But also I feel like it's sometimes on you to try to make those connections. And by speaking and by talking in the training, you're able to make those connections for yourself from what the trainer's saying and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, okay. We'll switch gears here.
Well,
Dave, he's asking what clicks for you in training. I just saw the chat bar.
Oh, sorry, Dave. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, in your career so far, what's been the most memorable piece or memorable maybe teaching moment that you've had, and that's why it keeps you doing this job? Like, what keeps you coming back?
You ever seen 6 middle-aged women giggle like little girls to where they almost pee their pants?
I mean, maybe.
I have so these women never met each other ever, and now I ski with them for a week, and they booked me out for a week all together from all over the country. Okay, their husbands dropped them off at ski school. Typical day, right? Husbands, boyfriends drop all these women off at ski school, and they flat out said, "We do not want to ski trees. We do not want to ski bumps. We want to ski steep and groomed, and we know what we're working on." And they all kind of, yeah. We all want to start working on carving. And I was like, okay, I can do that. Let's go out and ski. For 2 days, we worked on carves. We worked on trying to get them to tip their edges. On the 3rd day, we're coming down Ramshorn. On Ramshorn on the right side, there's some bumps and there's some trees. I like to ski close to the trees. It was a little bit flat light, and I was going in and out of the trees. And the whole 3 days, they never followed me around a tree. But I would just go around one tree. I was trying to see who would get brave and who would come around the tree. So I would always choose the easiest trees. Well, the one time that I went in, and it probably wasn't the best place for them to follow me in, it shoots me out. And I mean, I have to be like 3 to 5 feet in the air. And so I was like, oh, I kind of had an OS moment there for like, oh. And then I looked back, and I didn't even look back. I heard a series of yelps of, ah! And as I turn back, these women are all like 2 to 3 feet off the ground, and they all shoot off of this little jump. I mean, they flew, and I'm like, oh dear God, I lost my job. Someone's hurt. I'm gonna get fired. And as I turn around, and I kind of everybody's like laughing and giggling, and nobody falls, and they're just standing there. They're all falling, and now we're just standing there. And they're falling off the ground, like laughing everywhere. And these women go, "Can we do more jumps and fun stuff like that?" And I mean, the youngest one had to be like 35, and I was like, "You guys want to go to the park?" They're like, "Yes, let's go to the park." And so for the next 2 days, we just jumped rollers. Every little side hit that I could find, they would send it. And like, to me, them giggling, I mean, grown women giggling till they almost peed their pants, was the coolest thing in the world. And this was a few years ago, 25 years old, just like, how the hell did I make 7 grown women just giggle just by jumping? Going around a tree, just trying to get them. And I just wanted them to be adventurous and go around a tree.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
My time in 3 to 6, which was great, it was phenomenal. The people that were in it were awesome, but there would be very good days, and there would also be very, very bad days. And those of you that have taught 3 to 6, I think that it's a very important thing, and I'm going to take a lot of the things I learned in 3 to 6 with me for a long time. But on those good days, you have kids that showed up and they didn't know anything or didn't have a skill, and at the end of that day, you were able to teach them, and they were able to like click, and they would have fun, and it would just be an awesome day. And at the end, maybe you get a tip, and maybe all of the parents would tip. It would be great. And you could go back to the locker room and like just talk about the day, and like people, like all the other instructors would be like, "How's the day? Everything good?" And then you just like, "Yes, I had a great day. That was fantastic." And that was, I think, probably it happened maybe 1 out of every 5 or 6 days. So yeah.
For me, I love teaching. That's what I went to school to do. Maybe one day I'll be a school teacher too, but you get that same feeling when you're teaching skiing. And I've taught 3 to 6. I teach 7 to 10 now, and I've taught quite a few adults too. But at any age, honestly, at 3 to 6, one of the hardest levels to teach is level 2, because even though they know how to stop, they don't really know how to stop. They're still figuring some stuff out. But it was one of my favorite levels to teach, even though it was maybe one of the hardest days. But you could get them from barely stopping to turning down the hill on chair 12, and it was a really cool feeling. And you get that same feeling from, I feel like, level 2 to higher levels. So anytime I think you see that aha moment from a student is really cool, if it's on the ski hill or in the classroom, and I love it.
Teaching. That's the name of the game. Go ahead, Dave.
I was gonna say that, like, particularly with kids these days, I'm kind of like doing a little bit of teaching adults as well as the kid side. But kids have such a structured life, from school to whatever their after school activities are and all that kind of stuff. Really teaching them to kind of be able to be the paintbrush on the canvas that is snow, I think is such a unique experience and so special. That it allows them that sense of freedom and gives them that kind of feeling of exploration. And in today's world, that's harder and harder to find. Moving on to the adults, it's like, yeah, everybody's so structured and like has so much going on, and especially with the guests that we have come out to Vail, we really get to teach them how to have fun, just like Kenny was saying. And I think that's really a unique experience, and that is really, really cool, especially as you get more and more effective at it.
I want to thank you guys for stepping up to do this. I know when I first posed it to you, it may have sounded really interesting. Ow. I cracked my heel and I just hit it. I need a second. Whew. But I think it's pretty interesting because one, I see you guys a lot. I know some of you, and a lot of you have been going through the certification, and your names have coming up more and more. And so I just wanted to have this chat to be able to say hi, and then also hear where you're coming from, and maybe have you guys be able to share your experiences and motivate others as they're coming through the process as well. What I'd like to hear from is maybe a word of advice to some of the guys who are listening. Like, I know we have a couple live viewers, but then we also, this is on YouTube, so we'll have some information shared out there. But what would you like for people to know? And I like how you guys were talking about in the Cert 2 process, but for Cert 3 for you right now, what are you learning about yourself, and what do you know that you need to that will give you success moving forward? And how would you share that information with someone?
Kind of what Amy said earlier, just throw yourself out there. Like, you're not going to get anywhere if you don't try. So might as well just try.
I really liked what Jordan was saying earlier, and don't forget to have fun. We are facilitating vacations for our guests, and we always have to keep that in mind, despite, getting bogged down with training and feeling the pressure of exams and that kind of thing.
Yeah, take a day to ski and to actually try what you learned. Just go and apply it in a non-classroom setting and just try it out. Just rip some turns somewhere, in the bumps or in the groomers, like somewhere where nobody's watching. Well, everybody's watching, but where no one's watching. In your civvies where no one knows who you are.
No, hit the lift line, Kenny. Come on.
I think I would say that if there's anybody hasn't gone to a clinic, hasn't signed up for a clinic, go to a clinic. Just sign up for a clinic, go to a clinic, and see where that takes you. If you enjoy it, that's great. If not, it's totally fine too. But I think it's a really cool resource, a huge perk of being an instructor.
Yeah, and take advantage of it. Vail has so much training, you guys. Like, coming from New Mexico, we trained 3 times a year. 2 days in January with David Oliver and Kevin Eddy, 3 days in February with Colby, and maybe at the end of the season with Colby if they sent him down there again. Like, you guys, like, there's so much opportunity up here. Don't let it go to waste.
I would say figure out how you learn. That's a big piece. And for me this year, like, becoming more aware of that and applying that to the training has been huge. And if you're visual, go ski behind good skiers all the time, especially if their strengths are your weaknesses. So I ski behind Kenny because Kenny's good at turning his legs and I'm not great at turning my legs. So go ski fast behind good skiers.
I'd say it's just fun to get better at skiing. If you're a ski instructor, we're all athletic people. Why would you not want to get better at what you're doing and have fun with it? Because then you can cruise harder and ski faster and all of that. So it's just a fun time to get better at things.
That's really well said. I'm gonna let you guys go on that note. Thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully you guys had fun doing this, and we'll try to do more of this in the future. But thank you so much, everybody. We're gonna end the show here.